Okay, we're gonna tomato sauce. I have a whole load of tomatoes. I'm not sure how many pounds. Some of them have bad spots in them, so you're gonna need a knife to cut those out on the cutting board. And I prefer wide-mouthed jars to the narrow, but I'm gonna be using both because they were gifted to me. So you'll need wide lids and the narrow lids, wide collars, narrow collars. You need a big old stainless steel pot. Eventually you'll need a blender and a few canning tools. So the first step is to carve all of your tomatoes up.
Tomatoes. 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 Tomatoes.
Stir the down to the bottom so they don't burn on the bottom. And it'll get easier to stir as they break down with some heat. Cooking down. Look at how easy that is to stir. I'm just gonna let them go all night. Okay, here we are on day 2 of saucing. That sauce is looking great. This one's still a little watery. I have it a little higher to cook it down more quickly. But once we puree it, it should be fine. And you can always thicken it up when you use it. I don't season my tomato sauce at all before I can it, so I just do it afterwards. I'm gonna fill the water bath a little bit more, not too full, because once you submerge your jars, it can overflow. I'm just gonna move it over to the stove and warm it up. Okay, so I have my water bath on the stove and I just have it on low, pretty low, to warm the water. And I have my jars ready. You can fit 7 in this rack of the water bath, and it could be 7 large ones. I'm gonna do a mixture. It's kind of nice to have less sauce if you're making pizza. You don't really need a whole giant jar like you do for pasta. I'll work through this pot first because it's cooked down a lot more than the back one. So one thing that you'll need to do is put some lemon juice inside of each of your jars to balance out the acidity. Okay, we're ready. Jars, collars, tablespoon, lemon juice, lids. So I like to put my lids in a pot and heat those up on the stove also. I need a bigger stove. And turn those on. All of my jars are sanitized. So I'll put a tablespoon of lemon juice in the small jars, the pint-sized jars. And in the quart-sized jars, we put 2 tablespoons in. Up next is filling your blender with your sauce so you can puree it. I'll just put as much as I can in there. You want to use your lid so it doesn't hit your ceiling. Oh, you want to plug it in. Just quick puree. And the awesome part about using a blender is you can pour it right in. Leave about an inch at the top so your jars don't overflow. This one has a tiny bit too much in it, I think. Okay, I'm just gonna fill jars.
Tomatoes.
Okay, everything's steamy. We have our hot jars. Our water bath is warm. I like to take a clean rag and wipe the rims of my jars if there is sauce that's spilled on them, which there almost always is. And this is when I use my magnet to put my lids on my jars. You can't reuse your lids, but you can reuse the collars. And you want to screw your lids on until you get a little bit of resistance, but it doesn't have to be too terribly tight. And then you put them in your warm water bath. Both the little guys and the big guys can fit. There it is, all full. And I have these ready for when they're done. And you process tomato sauce for 35 minutes. I'm just gonna lower these guys in. Hopefully there's enough water in here. You want your water to cover the tops of your jars, so I'm actually going to pour a little more in. I'm going to let it warm up a little bit more before I put the lid on. Turn it on high. You want to wait until your water is to a rolling boil before you start your timer for 35 minutes. I'm going to put this on to keep the heat in. And turn the fan on, and once it's a rolling boil, I'll time for 35 minutes, or maybe a few more. Should be cool enough that you can lift it out. And you can let these sit for a minute, it won't hurt anything. But you can also pull them out. And let them sit for 24 hours. I almost forgot. You wait for your jars to seal, and you can hear them pop. I'm going to try and touch one, even though you shouldn't do that.